want to welcome everybody to the webinar today. Today's webinar is about the new partnership that has been founded between Raiqon and Nanga Systems. I will talk about a bit more details why we've done this and what the benefits are to you and our customers. Before we start, a bit about logistics. So any questions that come up, please put them in the Q&A section of the webinar interface. We will answer them at the end of the session. And rest assured that anything that we can't answer in the time that we have today, we will follow up with you in emails and answer questions afterwards. But we should be fine to discuss the questions that you have. We have about, I would say, 15 minutes at the end. Super. So let me quickly start. So today the topic is how AI and Codebeamer are transforming R&D processes. Wait, wrong focus. So a brief agenda. So first I'm going to introduce Nanga Systems and Raiqon, and then also Geza will talk a little bit about Raiqon and who the companies are, what we do. Then there's two sections that we focus on today, two use cases, main use cases about AI which is requirement management, so authoring requirements and the benefit that AI can bring, and the test case generation. Both sessions or both topics will be divided in an introduction of Codebeamer about requirement management or test case generation, and then we will see how it works combined with Raiqon AI, so that you see the benefit of extending ALM with AI. At the end, a brief outlook of Nanga Systems and Raiqon on how we move forward, and then we have the Q&A session. Good. Just before we start, our speakers, Geza. Geza is co-founder and CTO of Raiqon. So he will do the technical demos today about the Raiqon AI solution. Gerald Neumann. Gerald Neumann is my colleague in Austria. He is the CEO of Nanga Austria, and he will do the technical demo today about Codebeamer requirement management and test management. We have Dr. Michael Jastram. So he's the client solutions contact person at Raiqon, everybody, I think besides Geza is still too young, but everybody else has about 20 plus years of experience in system architecture, product development, ALM and systems engineering. He will talk about why AI is important today, and he will also talk about the benefits that Raiqon can offer. And then myself, I'm a sales lead at Nanga Systems. Also 20 plus years of experience, as my beard probably tells. And I will be doing the introduction and the ending of the whole session. So why is that partnership formed between Raiqon and Nanga Systems? It's pretty simple. So like I said, we have been working on Nanga Systems as an expert in application lifecycle management. Some of our employees have been part when this whole topic of ALM was coined, or that phrase of ALM was coined. We did that together with partners and with customers. It was quite a long journey. But I think by now everybody in the industry has understood that software is a very crucial part and an ever-extending part in every system that you have, and also around security relevant developments of systems. So that is something that is well understood by our customers and also by the industry. What is now emerging is there needs to be additional intelligence, so to speak, around our requirements authoring, about test management, and in the future many other use cases, just to make sure that requirements have the right quality, that there's no mistakes, that there's sort of a traceability on every level that you need. And AI is something that can help doing so. So this is why there was a no-brainer for Raiqon and for Nanga Systems to form the partnership, combining the ALM knowledge with the AI knowledge that Raiqon can offer. So who are we? Nanga Systems, very briefly, we are still full service provider around ALM and systems engineering. We do consulting. We do software reselling of licenses, for example, Codebeamer, and also Raiqon AI in the future now. And we have Nanga products. And Nanga products are basically something that we develop based on customer input, where, for example, there's a shortfall in an application that we resell. We can do add-ons on that application in order to help cover or close that gap. Who are our partners? PTC at the forefront, so that's our main partner. Raiqon now with the artificial intelligence solution, but we have other solutions that we have in place, mainly all around the R&D processes, like modeling, like agile, and project management. We will distribute these slides afterwards, and also we will have that meeting recorded and will also be distributed afterwards. So if there's any questions at the end, ask us or follow up with us in an email. Some of our customers, every product today has, or most of the products today have some sort of software in there. And we mostly focus on products that have security relevance, like in the automotive industry, ISO 26262, or FDA in the medical, or DDO norms that you have in aerospace defense. So if you want to have more than just talking to us and you would like to exchange with a customer, I'd always say, please contact us. We can set up a meeting. We'd be happy to do so. Okay. So now, Gesa, your slides. Go ahead.
Thank you, Lars. So Raiqon was founded 2 years ago by the Intent founders, who also brought Codebeamer to the market. And our goal is basically to increase productivity and also tackle unsolved problems in the product development process. Together with Nanga, we bring decades of experience in ALM and AI solutions and merge them together in the Raiqon AI platform. This also enables us to provide a significant productivity increase with generative AI and the guarantees of a trusted ALM platform. Next slide, please. Just before we jump right into the demonstration, I'd like to highlight some of the very important points that enable artificial intelligence for the enterprise. As Raiqon is not just a ChatGPT wrapper company, we fully tailor our models to customer needs. We have expert models like requirements or test authors that are trained with the relevant standards and proprietary data. We also train these models with local data centers, and we have all the certifications needed to work with confidential data with customers that might be really large as well, enterprises. Compared to other products, we are built to scale, so we can scale to millions of items and potentially thousands of concurrent users. So that's part of our core design principles. And also, platform is heavily optimized to reduce operational costs, which can be a very significant cost, which is not accounted for when someone starts to roll out AI solutions, but we also optimize for that. Permission control is also fully integrated, as it's basically the standard in Codebeamer, and we also integrated this to the core of our product. And last but not least, our integration with Codebeamer is designed to offer instant support from day one to our users. So no huge and long trainings are necessary anymore, and it's very easy to get started with it. And with that, I would like to hand over to Gerald, who will continue with the demonstration.
Gerald, I will stop my sharing. You can go.
Yes, please. Give me a second. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So what you can see here is Codebeamer. Codebeamer is a requirements management system by PTC. And just if you're not familiar, basically what we have here on the left side is so-called trackers. So I open up one. Trackers are basically containers which allow us to organize our requirement in a document-like structure. So if we have a look at the requirements, it's obviously requirements that are coming from an automotive domain. But let's just first, for the sake of simplicity, add a new requirement. Before this one, let's call it, for example, steering system response. And let's put a requirement that steering system must respond to driver inputs without delay. So the question is this a good requirement? I mean, it's obviously what the user expects. The driver wants to have a reaction without any delay. Technically, of course, as a requirements manager, we know that this requirement is probably not a perfect one because it does not fill some specific quality criteria. So we want to have requirements to be clear, concise, unambiguous, measurable or testable. And so this is something probably an unexperienced requirement engineer would enter. And we would have some possibilities, of course, to improve requirements quality. We can have very experienced or well-trained requirement engineers. We can conduct peer reviews, of course, and we hopefully find issues like that. But of course, that comes for a price. And actually, it would be rather nice if somebody would be sitting on my shoulder and just giving me a hint that there is something we can improve here. And this is exactly where Raiqon AI comes into play.
Yeah, so let me take over the sharing here.
Actually, is it your turn or mine? I thought I'd say a few words about that.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. So thank you, Gerald. And what Gerald just showed has propelled product development in the last 20 years. While in the early 2000s, document-based work dominated product development in general, and automotive in particular, the 2010s transformed the industry by moving to an item-based mindset. So exactly what we just saw. However, while complexity increases and competition grows, this approach is delivering diminishing returns. And this is what Gerald already hinted at. This is due to the fact that this process is highly labor intensive, and you need experts for that. So let's have a look at this from the point of view of the decision makers. The figure that you see here on the right shows the key performance indicators, KPIs, in product development. The blue line shows money spent over time. Just to be clear, this graph looks different for each organization and can vary widely based on the chosen development approach. Nevertheless, it dictates competitiveness. The goal is to get to market faster at a lower price. And so this is basically what you can see here, time and cost. But there's a third KPI. The figure on the lower right is the V model, which has been the foundation for systems engineering for the last 70 years. So the top left represents the high-level requirements, which are refined until we reach the implementation at the bottom of the V. V&V activities like testing take place on the right-hand side on all levels. So the V model has been a huge success for development, for the development of safe, reliable, and compliant systems. In other words, quality. And quality reduces the risk and represents another competitive advantage. And this is where Raiqon supports your existing development processes. In a bit, you will see a demonstration of Raiqon that shows how AI can accelerate your product development. And that's what Gesa was just eager to show us. So you'll see that in just a minute. You will see how Raiqon helps the author to write better requirements faster. And how this works today, we've just seen with Gerald. So Raiqon is seamlessly integrated into Codebeamer with contextual analysis and insights. And importantly, Raiqon does not require you to change the way you're working. And so you may wonder how that actually works. So let me go to the next slide. Here we go. The Raiqon AI model is specifically designed to enhance the work of requirements engineers by leveraging industry standard knowledge. So it's trained on comprehensive data sets. The model embodies the expertise of a highly skilled requirement engineer, which you essentially have then on your side. And with this intelligence, it augments your existing tools like Codebeamer by integrating directly into their user interface. Your team will receive guidance directly in the tools that they already use, following the processes that they already know. So, and if this is not enough, an open API and smart importing capabilities provide the required flexibility in a modern enterprise environment. And so before handing over to Gesa, let me just remind you that you can already start adding questions in the chat with the Q&A button, which we will then answer in the end. And so with that, now Gesa, now it's actually your turn to show how this works in Codebeamer.
Thank you, Michael. Let me share my screen. Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen now. And I want to proceed where we left off with Gerald. So as Michael also mentioned, it's extremely important to check the quality of the requirements early on. So we added that requirement. The steering system must respond to driver inputs without delay into a bit larger project to put it in context, because one standalone requirement is very rare in any development project. And let's see what we can do with the Raiqon extension. So in here, you can see that this is still Codebeamer, but with a single click of a button, we can enable the Raiqon AI extension. And at that point, without delay, you get this help from the AI system. And as you can see, we lack some very important details, especially regarding the delay specification. So you see that without delay over here, that's very difficult to specify. And if it ends up at one engineer or a tester, they will think different things about without delay. It might be 0 milliseconds or 0.1 or something else. And as we look into the analysis on the right, you can see that the Raiqon platform supports many features like classification, weak word analysis, field analysis, all of which is tightly integrated in Codebeamer. But right now, we will be focusing on AI review, which is checking the quality of the requirement along various rules and rule sets. And we will be fixing these issues with the help of generative AI. So as I mentioned, the system also finds this measurability and verifiability error. Just to read it, the requirement doesn't include specific units or measurable values. Exactly what we were talking about for the response time, which makes it difficult to test and verify. So that's one thing, and we have that instantly in the AI review. So if you are just scrolling through a set of requirements, then it's very easy to find all these potential issues. If we want to also fix the issue, the next step is looking into a more detailed core analysis. As you can see, this is a bit longer, but also has more specification on the error. Like we do not specify the exact time frame or threshold, but constitutes delay in the steering system's response. So I think that's a very nice catch from the system. But the next step is not just identifying this problem, but also fixing it. And we can do that very easily, just the same way as Gerald was editing this requirement. Now we have enabled the Raiqon AI extension. And you can see that if I scroll down, that you have this highlight, which is in this yellowish color, which is instantly telling us that something is not right with this requirement, because we have enabled the Raiqon AI extension. And it's not just saying that something is incorrect, but if we click on the item or open the analysis tab on the left, we have the exact same information as we had on the previous view. And why is it important? Because this way, when you are writing a new requirement or just editing an existing requirement, you have it's like someone sitting right next to you and constantly checking the ambiguities and potential inconsistencies within this requirement and also in the full project. And I would say that's one very important aspect with these AI-assisted features, especially with such a tight integration like how we are doing it here. But we were talking about also fixing the issue. So you see that you can see that here that we also highlight the relevant parts. Of course, this is a very short requirement, but if it was longer, then it would help a lot to highlight what segment of the requirement is incorrect or might lead to issues. And from here, the next step is really fixing the requirement. And you can see that we have this authoring button on the left, which opens up a new view. which is still in Codebeamer. We didn't have to leave the system and use external systems, but now we have this copilot functionality where a system recommends a few actions. So we have a set of actions like replacing weak words, which is a very common use case, as we learned, rephrasing the requirement or condensing it. And just to show you an example, we can task it to rephrase the requirement. And as you can see, all happening in Codebeamer, we see that the system just rephrased and removed, for example, the must and used shall, which is the official language in this project. And we can also condense it to keep it shorter without the rephrasing from the original requirement. Or we can specify even further actions. So for example, we can type in fix AI review, and then at that point, we can just ask the system to correct its own review findings. And you can see that the rewritten text is the steering system shall respond to driver inputs within 50 milliseconds from initial steering wheel movement. So it's also important to mention that this is what we are doing here is in context generation. So if we had a project like we had it here with 10 other requirements, then we can take the context from there. And if we specify 15 milliseconds somewhere else, then we can reuse that information. And of course, in the correct setting. And that way, the next step for us is basically just to accept this new requirement. And if we click on analysis, you can see that all of the items are now complete. So all of the core, project, standard, and weak word analysis, they are all passing. So we are basically we are done with our work with what we wanted to achieve. And the next step is just saving the requirement and having a better tracker with higher quality results. Okay, so let me summarize what we have just seen. So we have identified an issue which could lead to very serious problems. And then we fix it with the help of our AI authoring assistant. And with that, I'd like to ask Michael to come to you.
Thank you, Geza. So let me share my screen once more, which you should see right now. And yeah, I just want to elaborate for a second on the benefits of AI. In particular, as you've probably heard a lot about AI in the last few years, there's a lot of hype. But this is the real thing. So Raiqon is simplifying complexity. That's the key issue with AI guidance. So managing intricate systems becomes more efficient with AI-driven alignment and consistency checks. The authoring assistant helps teams to avoid errors upfront, ensuring high-quality requirements while reducing time spent resolving issues later. And you probably all know that resolving issues later can become very, very expensive. Also note that Raiqon is unlocking the power of reuse. So we haven't seen that much here, but Raiqon minimizes redundancies and saves resources and streamlines processes, which ensures that all content, even from sources like PDFs, is effectively utilized, giving teams confidence in complete coverage. And by the way, regarding PDFs, you can visit Raiqon.ai and try out the AI-powered PDF parser for free, which converts your PDFs into RecRF documents, which you can then import into your requirements management tools, including Codebeamer, but also all others. So go ahead and try that one out. And last, Raiqon boosts collaboration and productivity. So by automating repetitive tasks and providing instant answers via chatbots and semantic search, Raiqon eliminates bottlenecks and frees up senior team members to focus on strategic efforts. One issue that we're hearing a lot here in Germany right now is that there's a lack of skilled labor, and this allows you to quickly onboard new employees faster. So there are a number of advantages to that. And what we've just seen is on the left side of the V model, which I talked about earlier on. So let's now go to the next demonstration where Gerald explores the right side of the V model with test management. And again, remember to put your questions into the Q&A chat. And with that, let's get over to Gerald.
Thank you, Michael. So back to Codebeamer. As soon as the requirement was approved and released, it's actually up to the test manager or test engineer to derive test cases from. So basically, in a tool like Codebeamer, that would be an easy task. He would just add a test case and basically fill in whatever makes sense here. This is actually the next quality gate. So if the requirement was properly formulated, it would be an easy one for the tester to derive test cases. If the requirement is not really measurable, it's hopefully the task of, or the test manager will hopefully raise this issue and ask for a revision of the requirement, then a review, then another release, and of course, then he might be able to derive his test cases. So you see there is already a small loop in the process, which costs time. But in a perfect world, the tester would now derive his test cases, and he basically has a pre-action like start the vehicle and ensure that all systems are functioning correctly. And then he will apply his test cases. He will apply an initial steering wheel movement of 5 degrees, a small input, and then he will measure the time between the initial steering input and the start of the response. And of course, he has some expectations. So the expectations could, for example, be something like the steering system responds to the driver input within 50 milliseconds. Of course, this is not a big deal for a tester. So an experienced tester can easily do that if the requirements are properly formulated. But of course, also this is related to effort, right? So, and also here, Raiqon AI can support you, can save you a lot of time. And this is what Gesa will now show you.
Okay, let me share my screen again. And there we go. So at this point, we are just looking at the same requirement. Exactly for this purpose, we have built a tool which we call the Raiqon Test Planner suite. And this is basically our next step, is increasing productivity by speeding up and automating the workflow you have just seen demonstrated by Gerald. So companies often have thousands of previous examples on how they do testing, including test libraries and templates, but it's very difficult to reuse them efficiently, even in Codebeamer, which is a very efficient tool. So here is where we come to the Raiqon tool, which uses the GenAI capabilities. But the test planner is not just a ChatGPT-like tool where you have a chat and you can generate things you like, but it was designed from the ground up with test engineers and experts to speed up their own workflows and automate repetitive tasks. So this test generation is structured in 2 steps. Brainstorming step, which we call the test condition generation, where we collect all possible test conditions, and test case generation. So let's start here with the test condition generation. You can see that we have this Raiqon button on the top of your screen. It's integrated in Codebeamer, and you can reach it everywhere if you are navigating around. And you can see that we have this test planner button, which opens this view, which is already the test condition generation step, which I just mentioned. This is the first step. And what are these test conditions? So according to the ISTQB standards, this is the first step of the testing process by defining the atomic testable requirement segments, which are functional, and we will be testing them in this configuration. Of course, right now we are talking about the customer level requirement specification, but it also works for lower level definitions like design documents and other things. So let's just look at how this tool works. You can see the tool has generated many proposals, like what needs to be tested. Just a few examples. Verify that the steering system responds to driver inputs within 50 milliseconds, just as we stated in the requirement, from initial steering vehicle movement in all driving situations. And you can see other test conditions like all driving styles, all driving environments, and many other things. So if someone is not an experienced tester, this is what we call this brainstorming step, because that's where you get a lot of ideas like what can be tested. But this is not just some AI-generated information which we will have to use. You can see that we can also edit any existing items, add new conditions if we want to test other things, and also we can remove any of them if they are not applicable for our use cases. So that way you can steer the full generation process and generate test cases which are relevant for you. And I think we can continue with that step after selecting the test tracker over here. Okay, so the test case generation tool is the next step. And as you can see, this is the same view as Gerald was showing us. But now we have on the left the Raiqon integration, where the proposed test cases are each present. Some of them has been already accepted. You can accept and reject test cases, but best of all, it's not just you have to accept or reject. You can edit any of them. So let's open any one of them, and you can see that we have a short name and description, all coming from our test generation tool. But even better, we also have test parameters. So test parameters are different types of information. So for example, the driving style might be in a city, highway, or off-road, which is more responsive, of course. And we can use these parameters when we are generating the tests. And I would say even this is an option. Not all test libraries contain parameters, but this is one of the very advanced features, which is, I would say, similar to coding and code generation, where we use variables. And that way we can reuse the number of redundant test cases with redundant information. And it's also very important to mention that this information is being reused. So if we had any previous tests for, let's say, this functionality, which is the steering wheel response type, then we can basically work with those and reuse as much of them as possible without even having a direct access from the test engineer. And of course, we can generate any number of test cases, and that can be parameterized by the end user. After we save a test, it becomes green on the list, and we can also reject some if they are not that applicable in our use cases or redundant. And if it's all done, we also have click links in Codebeamer. So you can see that this is the generated tests with the parameters like driving conditions, the simulation, and the expected result, all in Codebeamer, as one might expect, of course. But the important point is that we are automating the repetitive workflows that no one it's not a very good use of anyone's time to repeat the same things over and over again, especially in such an environment in which we are right now. And also one more very important thing is that traceability is the core of the EV model, and basically any development that happens in the automotive context, but also in avionics and in the pharma industry. So that's something that I would say comes for free when we are using the Raiqon extension. As you can see that these new tests is already linked to the original requirement as a validation. So these tests will validate that requirement. And that way we have traceability without clicking a button or searching for other requirements. So I would say that's one of the most important aspects as well. And there are many other traceability related things in the Raiqon toolset, but this is one of them that we are showing right now. Okay, and so we have automated and sped up the existing workflows with AI, and we had the traceability guarantees from the ALM system. So that's what we love to say as the best of two worlds. And with that, I now hand over to Micha, who will highlight the most important points of our presentation so far.
Thank you, Geza. So I think this gave like a great impression on how Codebeamer and Raiqon play together over the whole V model, from the top left to the right side, and how it supports your activities. So I want to give you like a little bit of an outlook. And unlike generic large language models like ChatGPT or whatnot, our domain-specific pre-trained AI is optimized for the challenges of your industry. It ensures precise and relevant outcomes, always staying current with your latest product details. So this is a huge difference. This scalability allows seamless handling of millions of items, also not unusual in the automotive industry, making it a perfect fit for complex development environments. Raiqon is designed with modern enterprise needs in mind. So this solution offers flexible deployment options. Whether on-prem or in the cloud, Raiqon adapts to your organization's infrastructure. It integrates smoothly with the tools, but also with corporate data access policies. This is actually also quite a differentiator, ensuring a consistent and secure user experience, and most importantly, that even employees who are not supposed to see certain information will not accidentally see it through the AI. Raiqon is built for compliance, being ISAC certified and aligned with strict security standards. It also high cost efficient, leveraging low cost GPU for large scale operations without relying on network bandwidth, making it ideal for high demand environments while reducing overhead. And so we will continue to expand the platform, adding new capabilities and tool integrations on a regular basis. So you've seen Codebeamer here. There's a Jira integration. I mentioned that there's an API, and there are also import-export facilities like the PDF parser that I already mentioned that allows you to align external data structures with the ones that you use internally. So, and with this, let me hand over to Lars for Nanga's outlook and some closing remarks before we are going to answer the questions that already accumulated in the chat. So with that, over to you, Lars.
Thank you, Michael. So it's been said many times. We have talked to Raiqon in the beginning or some time ago, and we were very impressed about the functionality it offers, about the capabilities of sort of tailoring such models that you have, and also because of the integration level that you have within Codebeamer. So this is a very nice streamlined solution with a lot of potential to grow in many different directions depending on customer environments. Yeah. So this is why we as Nanga, we want to become the one-stop shop for ALM. And we've just discovered in the past few weeks or month that you can't be a one-stop shop for ALM if you do not talk about AI, artificial intelligence by now. So this is why we are very happy to build on this partnership, to extend this partnership. There will be many more use cases in the future, and I'm sure there will be a few more webinars that we will do together, which I'm looking forward to. So that is basically where Nanga is going to. Like I said, as a partner of Raiqon, we will be reselling licenses. We will be doing services around this. And we always have access to the experts from Raiqon if there's any specifics that we need to clarify or talk about. One more remark also maybe around the Jira solution that Michael has mentioned. We also are a reselling partner of Atlassian. So if there's any need for this, contact us. It's also a sweet spot of us that we can then help you with. I think for this webinar, before we end, we do not end yet, but I want to thank everybody who presented here, Geza, Michael, and also Gerald. And we now jump off to the question and answer session. I can see there's already 9 questions answered. One thing before we start, I saw that Michael has posted the link to that free version of the PDF converter. Can anybody in the chat see that? If not, please raise your hand so we can then maybe distribute it again. But for now, I would say, I don't know, all around Raiqon, the questions. I was expecting that. So it's probably Michael and Geza who should answer that. Can you see the questions, Michael and Geza? Yeah?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, so
I can see the questions. And Lars, as you were just talking about the use cases, there's one question I think which is great for Gesa, which was asked by an anonymous attendee. Can I extend the Raiqon platform with my own use cases? Gesa, do you want to take that?
Yeah, that's one question we get very frequently, and as a platform, the answer is yes. So our platform is extendable and also supports running your own language model if you wish to, but you can also use the Raiqon integration with, let's say, Codebeamer to or basically any other tool like IBM Doors or any other tool like Jira or others, to extend it to your own needs. And we have an open API definition, and we also have it's currently closed source, but we also have an SDK with which you can interact with the Raiqon API.
Maybe just to add to that, so we are a platform, as Gesa just said, and differentiate between product and platform features and solutions. And so you can see that kind of as a kit where you can build your solutions from the available features that Raiqon provides. So it's very modular. And that's what I meant in the beginning, that we are not requiring you to change your processes or your tools, but we augment them. And that's the real power of Raiqon. Who wants to pick the next question?
I can pick it. The question was, how can Raiqon help in establishing requirement level traceability, not test cases? So we didn't demonstrate that today, but we have already showcased that in our previous webinar, and I think that's also going to be a question in one of the following ones. So for traceability, we have semantics-based search, so semantic search, with which you can identify duplicate requirements and also upstream and downstream references by filtering based on trackers and projects. So you can identify missing traces and also similar items in the same level and different levels as well. I hope that answers the question.
So I'm right now scanning the questions. I think, Gesa, you can just go down the list. Most of them are for you.
Okay. I will answer the next one as well. Is it possible to filter, for example, report creation on all requirements that have weaknesses, or we need to check each requirement individually? So yeah, that's definitely possible. We have a Raiqon dashboard, which is similar to a Codebeamer report. You have all the requirements, and I could even show it, but it's like an Excel sheet. You can even export it in Excel if that helps. And you have access to the links to the requirements and all the issues found. And you can select a tracker or CBQL query to identify the scope. And then the system will analyze them all and provide you this dashboard.
Great. I think the next one is another good example of what I meant with the toolbox. Do you have ability to split requirements into individual requirements? We get a lot of customer requirements that are paragraphs with several requirements together. And Gesa, maybe you can also elaborate on the PDF parsing, because that's an issue there as well.
Yeah, exactly. So this has two, we support this in two directions. One of them is creating small requirements from a bigger chunk of text while still keeping the traceability by linking them to the parent, which was the larger one. And the other direction is also very important in some cases where you get the requirements as line by line, for example, from a different ALM solution. And we also support grouping them together to semantically meaningful requirements. So those are the two directions, and we support both of them.
Great. So I hope that question was answered by that. We have a number of questions on similarity and reuse. Maybe, Gesa, you can take like a broader view at those.
Absolutely. So for similarity and reuse, it's fully integrated in the Raiqon platform. So we support listing all the similar items to requirements, providing dynamic context to the end user when navigating to the tracker, showing that which items are relevant. So they have instant access to the context. So even when someone new comes to the company and they need to learn how the new project works, it's much easier for them because the AI system provides them with the context. And we also support semantic search, where you can type free-flowing text and without knowing the specific keywords or even the glossary. And then you can find the relevant requirements for your work.
Perfect.
Okay, so I think I can continue with the next one. Do we have or will have the functionality that automatically analyzes the requirements, like which requirements are somehow similar to each other? So I think that was answered. Also analyzes runs for all requirements. So if you upload requirements to Codebeamer, they will be automatically analyzed. If you upload like hundreds of thousands or millions of them, of course, it will take a bit of time, but with our scalability guarantees, we can analyze them all and provide similarities and also quality analysis for all of them. The next one is, can the tool use multiple requirements and generate a composite test case? Can it use additional information as context, like test tracker configuration, general preconditions, general information regarding the product, etc.? So I think this is a very good example for configuration abilities. So one way to do this, as of today, would be to create a custom extension which works with our toolset and integrates this information, as we are a platform that works today. Or if it's a common use case, then we can put it on our roadmap and support it with usually we can implement things at a high pace. And by that I mean we can prioritize such feature requests, and we are already working on the composite test cases, which take a set of requirements and they use that. Okay. So the next one is, can you detect within a project redundant requirements? Not necessarily exact same, but same meaning using different words. Exactly. So that's what we call the semantics-based search and similar requirements. So we have full support for that today. Next one is the license model for Raiqon AI. That is currently per user per month, but if you have specific questions, you can also reach out to Nanga and also Raiqon directly at sales@Raiqon AI or info@Raiqon AI. But you can also reach out to Nanga regarding these requests. Okay. Next one is, how deeply is Raiqon integrated with Codebeamer? I think we were showing some nice examples, like the live editor integration is, I would say, one of the most advanced ones. And another level is permission control. That is, many people do not think about permission control at first, but it's actually very difficult to implement and fully cover Codebeamer's very strong permission control abilities. And that's we also mentioned in the presentation that is fully integrated with us. So I would say your integration is very deep with Codebeamer, but we are also not that dependent on internals of Codebeamer because we are using the public APIs. So I would say it's very deeply integrated, but in a way that is future-proof.
Actually, Gesa, there are 2 more questions regarding Codebeamer, which I think this is a good time to answer, like from Stefan. Stefan Leutenmeyer, where does the Raiqon platform end and where does Codebeamer start for extensions, i.e. your integration to Codebeamer does not completely rely on official Codebeamer APIs?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was mentioning, that we are integrating in a future-proof way. We also need to have a Codebeamer plugin, which runs on the Codebeamer server. and there is one single change that needs to be added in basically one of the files. I don't want to go into very deep details right now, but this I would say on the possibility of breaking, let's say, a Codebeamer installation because of our plugin is very low, because all the APIs, or even the internal APIs, let's say the permission control system is using, have been the same for many years, because that's one of the foundation features of Codebeamer. And all the rest is just using the official Codebeamer APIs from the external services.
While we're talking about PTC, maybe also take that anonymous question regarding PTC developing their own AI features. So why would anybody choose Raiqon rather than the PTC solution?
Oh, that's a great question. So PTC is developing the AI extension for Codebeamer, but there are several benefits of using our solution over that, even without knowing all of the details. So PTC is a huge enterprise, and they are most likely going with another huge enterprise to solve this problem. So you can think about, for example, Claude or OpenAI. They are I would say the hyperscalers in this environment. And most likely a solution with those is going to be applicable for many customers. But for many customers, it won't be applicable because they cannot just send out their data to external parties. And also Raiqon offers model trainings. So this is not just an off-the-shelf solution. Let's say take ChatGPT and generate your requirements and tests. But we fine-tune these models with proprietary data, and that proprietary data was created for Raiqon, and also it's available inside the customer companies, for example. Of course, we are not sharing any of that. These are, I would say, personalized model trainings, and that way we can fully customize what we offer. And that's very difficult to do with hyperscaler solutions, especially with privacy and security in mind.
I'd like to add one more thing to that, and that's basically the question is, as a corporation, are you believing in buying everything from one portfolio company, or do you prefer buying the best of breed solution for each of the elements that you have in your ecosystem? And we talked about Jira before. Jira is not in the PTC ecosystem, it's from Atlassian. So choosing a vendor that understands this and understands the need for customers to really use the best tool for each purpose, they would probably look for a Raiqon, because this is truly a best of breed solution that focuses on the AI aspect and nothing else, rather than building a huge ecosystem of product development tools.
Yeah.
Next question.
Okay. What is the difference between using Raiqon versus just using ChatGPT for requirement analysis? So I think I partly answered this one, but the core differences are that this is customized. Our models have very specific information about the projects and trackers. When you are chatting with our tool or just using our tool, you have access to all the data you have access in Codebeamer. And you can try to copy paste that over to ChatGPT or any other solution. It's going to take tremendous amount of time, and also actually leaking some information, like confidential information. Requirements are usually confidential, or might be strictly confidential in some cases, to an external party, which is often unacceptable. So I would say this is not a chat tool. This is designed for requirement engineers, testers, and also software engineers. And we fully integrate in the flow, so it's not chatting, but it's solving specific problems and increasing the productivity that way. Okay, I can proceed with the next one. Did I understand it correctly? That the two main features of Raiqon today are improved quality of requirements formulation automatic generation of test cases out of requirements. That is correct. And we also have many other features like importing data in Codebeamer, let's say the PDF parser, comparing two versions of the same document, let's say RFQs, often change. It's very difficult to compare them if they are exchanged using PDF or Word documents or basically anything. So we have many other features. And if you are interested, you can also check our website, or we can also schedule a demo later on. But these are definitely two main features we were showing today.
Great.
Is Raiqon able to identify and potentially resolve contradictory requirements? Yes, this is what this is currently supported on a Raiqon AI, which is creating the master version of let's say two versions of the same requirement. And we plan to integrate that in the Codebeamer user experience as well. But it's not trivial because of the trackers are not structured in a way, but it's basically in progress right now. Okay, you mentioned showing dynamic context. What does this actually show? This shows the relevant items for a requirement, so that if you are looking at a requirement about turn signals, you will see in a selected context, like let's say in the same tracker or same project, you will see all the items that are relevant for your work, and basically highlight the important segments from them, so that it's more difficult to make mistakes, and also you don't need to search around for all the relevant items for your work. We are also very happy to show that, and I think it was also shown in our previous webinar. So I think when we are sending out the links, we can also show or send a link to that video to show that.
Yeah, actually, I can put it in the chat. I'll do that in a second.
Thank you. Next one, we have hundreds of thousands of requirements. Won't AI analysis slow down our system? That's again a question we have been thinking about a lot, and we have designed our system from the bottom up in a way that we do not rely on Codebeamer just for the must-have functionality, so that Codebeamer won't really feel the pressure from our system, because we only use it for the let's say permission checks. And what we are doing on our side is basically it happens on our side, and that is built to be scalable, and it's designed for exactly this purpose. So hundreds of thousands or millions of requirements will not be an issue with our installation. Okay, I think that is answered. How can we be sure our IP is protected when using your solution? So you can be sure because there are two options to host Raiqon. One of them is a SaaS installation. And if you are working in a special field or like automotive, or you have special data, then basically you can deploy Raiqon on your premises. So we have on-premise deployments, or also private cloud like Azure Cloud with virtual network isolation, or AWS with VPC isolation. So it's fully under your control. You have the ownership of the full infrastructure, and that way we don't have any access to the data. So even if training happens or something like that, we don't have any access to that at that point. So it's basically impossible for us to get any access to the data, because we don't have any external communication with our service. So this is not like sending your data to OpenAI, getting it analyzed and sending it back, but everything happens on your local installation. Next one is, what if we have requirements written in multiple languages with different technical terms? So that brings us to two features we didn't mention so far. So we have a translation system integrated, which supports all languages spoken in Europe and Japan. And so basically we have a translation system with a very, very good coverage of languages, mostly used when with business happening in Europe. And different technical terms can be defined in our glossary feature. which is again integrated in Codebeamer and highlights the glossary terms. And if someone is writing a new requirement, we can recommend glossary items. If they are using, let's say, car for vehicle, then we can recommend them to maybe use vehicle because that's used everywhere else in the project. So that's that can help a lot.
And that's again a good example of the toolbox nature of Raiqon. And as time progresses, we will put more and more tools into this toolbox, which you can then use to accelerate and improve your existing workflows.
Next one is whether Raiqon AI can be integrated with other ALM tools as well. So again, with our API, you can integrate Raiqon with Microsoft Excel or basically any tool that is used in your organization. So basically, any ALM can be fully integrated with this. But we have some recommendations and supported tools. But we also plan to extend beyond the current support regarding the supported tools. Okay, the next one is how long would it take to see real benefits from implementing your system? I would say it should be very fast because, as I mentioned, the learning curve should be very smooth because we have seen that the system is designed to be as intuitive as possible and integrate in an existing tool. So it's not like learning a new tool, finding the buttons and things like that, but it should be really easy to use and streamlined. So I would say that it should be I would say instant because you get access to relevant items. That's an instant benefit that no other solution supports right now out of the box, and we do that. Okay, the next one is what is the level of productivity increase that can be expected from using Raiqon with the ARM system? That very, very heavily depends on the usage. So you have seen some examples right now. It's not just the productivity increase. Like having access to some other requirements might be 100% productivity increase for someone that is new to the project. So if I'm tasked to write a new turn signal and I see all the other requirements, it's going to be much easier for me to do my job. So it very heavily depends on the level of the users, like if they are power users of Codebeamer already or not. And there are many factors in that. So we cannot say an overall number here. We do have some case studies and estimates from our currently running projects, I would say. But that very heavily depends on the configuration as well. Okay, so the next one is when doing similarity detection, what do you factor into it? Is it purely summary and description, or are other attributes, tracker, type, project, ADC included in the analysis? So this is something that also brings us to the level of integration with Codebeamer, because we can use all of these fields if we want to. But of course, we can just, first of all, check the summary or maybe the description for this search. And then the users can configure the different fields in each of these requirements. Okay, and we have one last question.
Yeah, I can say a few words while you read it. It's like a little bit longer, but basically, Joshua, the short answer is what you describes here essentially is like the big vision behind Raiqon. The big vision is really that you have an AI system here that learns over time. We are also already looking at ways of bringing existing knowledge, for example, in the form of guiding documents from OEMs and so forth, into the system so that it hits the ground running with all the knowledge that is required and available in the company, but of course also with growing this knowledge and learning from it and getting smarter and smarter from it over time. So that's exactly the vision behind Raiqon. Gesa, is there anything that you want to add to that?
No, I think that covers the the question. Okay, and I think the last question for today is that, can a system admin of Codebeamer play any role in customization of Raiqon AI to project-specific use cases? Yes, definitely. So we have project-level configuration options. We also have system-level configuration options, like even the user interface can be configured, which users can access Raiqon, that can be also configured. And I think that's very important. That ties into the user permission control part, and also which trackers are available to the Raiqon installation. So it might be that only 90% of the trackers will be using Raiqon. That can be also configured. So there is a lot of options already, and we keep adding more and more as requests are flowing in to customize the system.
I think that was the last question. This were lots of questions. So thank you for your interest. This was really amazing. Lars, do you want to say any closing words?
Closing remarks. I'm happy that we caught up with all the new questions coming in while we were answering them. So thanks for doing a good job. No, I would just want to thank everybody for the participation for this. Like Michael said, lots of questions. I'm sure there will be more questions coming up. You will have our contact details. They will be distributed. So please approach us and be rest assured that we will start following up with you starting tomorrow afternoon already. And then next week for any open things that you want to do. Maybe you want to do a pilot, have another demo, have some specific questions. So we'd be very happy to discuss that with you. For now, thanks, Gesa, Michael, and Gerald for the nice webinar. It was a pleasure. I hope we can do that again very soon. And thank you to all the participants, specifically those still 27 that stayed with us until the end of answering all the questions. So thank you very much. Have a good afternoon and hopefully see you soon. Bye-bye.